Hey, my name is Ava, and I'm from California. I always thought that I went to an ordinary school, but recently I realized that this was far from true. The thing is, a ghost lives in our school. Is it easy to study in such an atmosphere? In my story, I'll tell you all about it. If you like my story, please like, share, and subscribe. My school is located on the outskirts of the city I live in, and they say that apparently it once used to be a military base. One day, there was a huge fire in the buildings with the soldiers inside. It turned to dust, and for a long time, the place was empty. Many people thought it was cursed, but then our school was built here, and all was forgotten. Before, neither I nor the other students knew about this story, so we didn't notice anything particularly unusual. But when absolutely inexplicable phenomena began to occur in the school, someone remembered the story about the fire and the soldiers. That was how this legend spread, and soon became the most popular one in our city. It all started when our class entered the assembly hall to rehearse our Christmas Eve celebration performances. Since it was dark in the hall, I went to turn the light on, but it did not light up at once. At first, a dim glow appeared. In the semi-darkness, we saw a black figure moving along the stage. I don't even know how to describe what it was. It looked like an old woman holding a scythe like in the movies. It was so creepy to see this shapeless black silhouette in the twilight. All of us started screaming. Then, suddenly, the figure went backstage and disappeared, and the lighting in the hall gradually increased to its regular brightness. Our teacher was baffled. Surely our eyes weren't playing tricks on all of us students and the teacher as well. Needless to say, rehearsal did not take place that day. We were literally shaking with fear and wanted just one thing: to get home to our parents as soon as possible. The next day, our teacher told us that it was most likely just an optical illusion, since not a single school camera captured anything suspicious. However, there were no cameras exactly next to the stage, so the school couldn't have possibly captured anything, even if they wanted to. We decided not to discuss the situation anymore and try to forget about the incident. Everything was peaceful for around a week. Then, early in the morning one day, when we had all just arrived at school, we saw inscriptions on the blackboards of each classroom. Inscriptions that said things like, "I see you, I know everything about you," and "No one will go unpunished," and so on. At that point, it was really scary because, again, the security cameras did not capture anything, so there was absolutely no proof. The school could not give us any answers to our questions, and we were forced to continue studying in this environment with this fear. The paranormal phenomena did not end there. Soon after, one of the security guards showed us a video in which the security camera captured a chair floating in the air through the corridor in the middle of the night. In another video, we could see the same black silhouette that we had seen in the assembly hall before. It really was a nightmare that gave us goosebumps whenever we thought about it. We were scared of our own shadows and got startled because of our own movements. I'm not joking. As for me, I jumped with fear whenever I accidentally saw my own reflection in the mirror. The atmosphere in school also got very heated, by the way. All this time, creepy inscriptions continued to appear on the blackboards and even on the school walls every night. Sometimes there were ancient symbols and scary drawings like skulls and snakes. What did any of this mean? What was the goal of this mysterious ghost? What should we do to finally bring it all to an end? We were all extremely concerned. Those who had the opportunity even moved to other schools. The only thing the rest of us could do was endure everything and hope that this would end soon. The ghost was seen every now and then in different parts of the school and scared us from time to time. Once, it even recorded an audio message for us on our literature teacher's pen drive. She had uploaded some material for a lesson on the pen drive and had connected it so that we could all listen to it together. But instead, all we could hear were threats spoken in a throaty whisper. The ghost promised to lock all of us up in the school and set it on fire so that we too could go experience what it could go through. This wasn't funny at all, to be honest. We even held a school-wide parent meeting where everyone tried to come up with a solution to the problem, but no one was able to give good advice, so everything remained as it was. That is, we continued attending school in constant fear. This started to take a toll on some students, who started seeing a neuropathologist. Others, like me, were still doing relatively okay, but we were ready to break at any moment. I was quite stoic about the whole situation because I watched a lot of horror movies with my older brother Mike from a very young age. And by the way, Mike was a huge fan of this genre in his school years. And even though he's already finishing university, he still loves it. I guess he likes it when his nerves are rattled. So, information about the school ghost immediately interested him, and he would call me up daily to ask about new tricks of this creature. To be honest, I didn't really like Mike's overly keen interest in what was happening at my school. I've always known that Mike would never obsess over anything for no reason. It looked like my brother was up to something, but what was it? Did he maybe even know something about this ghost? I didn't have to guess for too long, because soon enough, Mike told me he was coming home for the weekend, and that he was going to sneak into the school at night and install several strategically placed high-quality cameras in order to film the ghost. He said that if he managed to get a good video, he would become a billionaire. Well, this sounded like a big plan, which was great, and I'm happy for him. But why didn't he have the instinct of self-preservation? It bothered me. Did he consider himself immortal? I didn't really like this idea from the very start, so I tried to dissuade my brother from putting it into practice, but he was being stubborn as always. I even thought about telling our parents, but then I decided to come to terms with his decision. After all, Mike was no longer a child. However, I could not fall asleep that night. My brother was at the school, and no one could tell how these games with the ghost would end for Mike. What if I never saw him again? No, I needed to drive these thoughts away from myself. Everything's going to be fine for him. I hope he returns home soon. Mike came back home the next morning. I simultaneously felt extremely happy and anxious when I heard him turning the key in the door. My heart was beating really fast as my brother entered the room. He said that he had very important information for me and took out his camera. I was not ready to see that scary creature again and asked Mike to protect my psyche. But Mike said that it was better to see it once for myself than to hear about it 100 times, especially considering the fact that he had found quite a logical explanation to the paranormal phenomena in our school. He told me that the video recorded by his camera was not scary at all, and asked me to muster some courage and watch it. I agreed, but I must confess that I was very, very scared. Every second, I was expecting some kind of setup, considering Mike's mischievous sense of humor and pranking nature. Scaring someone to death and then laughing was a usual thing for him, but no, this time there was no prank in that video. On the screen, I watched our school security guard walk down the hall with a large black bag. After a couple of minutes, I saw the ghost holding the same bag. He was moving in the opposite direction. I did not want to immediately accept the obvious, but after a few minutes, a video from another camera started playing. In it, the ghost entered all the classrooms, one after another. After that, it stood in front of the camera for a while and then left. I was confused about one thing: the presence of the black bag. No, this could not be true. It was probably just a coincidence. Or maybe the ghost created an illusion on purpose to set up the security guy. He had always been so kind to us. I could not believe that this nice man was capable of keeping the whole school in fear. And why would he do that? I had so many questions. Mike said that he would go to school with me and show these videos to the headmaster and the security guard himself so that I would have a chance to see his reaction on my own and hopefully his confession. Mike and I went to school together, and at the entrance we were greeted by an alarmed security guard. He told us that at night the ghost was writing on the blackboards in each classroom again and even got recorded by the security cameras. We asked him to show us these recordings. And when we entered his cabin, I saw the same large black bag in there. He left, letting us watch the recordings alone. So, I decided to look inside the large black bag. I found a black ghost costume with a mask and some other stuff. Immediately, Mike and I left for the headmaster's office and showed him Mike's recordings. He was as shocked as we were, but he agreed to go to the security guard's cabin to check out everything on his own. We also compared the recordings from Mike's cameras and the school's security cameras. In that moment, everything was clear. It was our sweet, wholesome security guard who was behind all of this. But why? Why would he do such a thing? He soon answered this question himself when he returned to his cabin and immediately realized that he had been exposed. There was no point in denying anything. He told us that this year, he suddenly felt very old and realized that he no longer had the energy to keep the order into the school as he once used to. So, he came up with a great plan to intimidate all the students and enjoy the unprecedented obedience. Well, one has to admit, his plan did work. We were so frightened by this supposed ghostly creature that we hadn't even thought about rebelling in any way. Turns out, Mr. Security Guard was also the one who came up with the story about the burnt-down military barracks in order to make everything more plausible. He made it look so realistic in the videos. The chair was made to float with the help of transparent nylon string. That day, the headmaster forced the security guard into retirement, and there were no more paranormal activities within the walls of his school. Fortunately, no one had reported this massive prank to the police. Otherwise, the old security guard would have had a much harder time dealing with the consequences of a prank like this. Do you believe in paranormal phenomena?